Buckeye Nation, welcome to another edition of the Silver Bullets podcast on the Ozone Radio Network. I'm your host, Shannon Sommers, contributor at Hayes and Cannon on the Ozone.net and producer of Acosta Field with Tony Kerneman. Co-producer, here we go. Today we're going to be talking about the Ohio State men's basketball, which means I have my man Eric at the BBC, or Eric BBC.
How's it going, Shannon?
How you doing today, Eric?
Doing all right.
I mean, we're going to discuss, since our last time, it's been a couple of weeks since our last time, and we had the PK 80 challenge, and we had the Big Ten ACC challenge, and we're getting ready to open up Big Ten play, so we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Let's jump into, what's that?
I think you meant the ACC kick-ass challenge.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, none of the Big Ten's showing up. It's like 11-2 right now, and I think the game might be going on right now, Michigan State and Notre Dame for the
Michigan
final
State's
one.
Winning, so
Michigan State's got a good squad.
Yeah.
So
anyway.
Yeah. Last time we talked, we were on a nice little winning streak. We're getting ready to start the PK 80 tournament, the Phil King 80th birthday. They had a home game, and then they had to go out to Oregon, and there's 16 teams in this. The first game that they played was against Gonzaga, and I think the Buckeyes are still looking for the right stadium to go into, because they definitely did not show up against the Bulldogs and just got slapped around 86-59. It was really, it was kind of embarrassing.
To be fair, they were there for the first half. They just got lost in the locker room before the second.
And that's what's going to bring us to a lot of the common thread, it seems, of what's going on lately.
Yes. Yeah, no, exactly.
So then Friday, the very next night, they play Stanford. They beat Stanford 79-71, even though it seemed like they tried giving that one away. But I just think Stanford didn't want to win it. It's worse than the Buckeyes. So then we go in, Chris Holtmann plays his former team that he doesn't want to play because of the ties and the emotional value with it and everything. And the Buckeyes had a lead in the final 2 minutes, and they ran off the court and just let Butler take over. I mean, it looked like Minnesota going against Alabama with a 5-on-3.
Yep.
It just was not very good. And then we come home.
The entire end of that game was a complete disaster.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. I've got some theories about why that happened.
And then last night we had the Big Ten ACC challenge, and the game that we had was Clemson. And if I'm an Ohio State fan, the common theme that I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I hate Clemson. So, another lead in the second half blown. I think I sent you a direct message saying that good thing that we don't play quarters in college basketball, because you would call us the Michigan of college basketball, like Michigan football, because we can last 3 quarters but not 4.
That's exactly right. Certainly Michigan did that, and that's a pretty good evaluation of this team right now. They can get a lead. They can get a lead on just about anybody, but holding on to it is dang near impossible.
You put a tweet out, and I think it hit everything kind of really on the head about how this team lacks leadership. And I think you and I discussed too that it was the void of leadership is gone since Aaron Kraft graduated. And I blame a lot of this on Mark Loving, because Mark Loving was just there. And I think he never stepped up to the plate. He never did what he should have done as far as a upperclassman and taking control. And for that, along with, Thad and what all happened, that's why we're in the situation we're in.
So I actually think it goes a little bit further back than that, and it comes down to a discussion of culture. I think it actually starts with Amir Williams, right?
Oh, don't get me started on him.
Don't get anybody started on him, right? He was the player that everyone loved to hate. And why did everyone love to hate him? Because he never showed any effort on the court. He never came out and played like he cared. right? And he was he was playing with Kraft for a brief period of time. I think he was a freshman when Kraft was a senior. And he was sort of the start of all of the lethargy, all of this, just sort of going through the motion basketball that we've seen for the last 3, 4, 5 years, where people don't seem to care. They don't step up to the plate. They don't make the effort to win basketball games. So the lack of leadership out of the players has been a slowly developing cultural phenomenon, where now I think the players are so far removed from the last time they saw on the court leadership or leadership amongst their fellow players, that they're so far removed from that they have no idea how to do it. And that's what's frustrating Holtmann so badly, right? Last night he expressed a ton of frustration after losing to Clemson, because they haven't been able to practice properly because of the Phil Knight 80, by the way, not Phil King, Phil Knight.
Yeah, you're right.
They haven't been able to practice properly, and I think a lot of it is Holtmann's trying to get the players to take some accountability for owning the team. And the players that need to do that are Jashawn Tate and Keita Bates-Diop. And neither one of them seems to be willing to do it, right? There have been a couple of times where we've been desperate for a basket, and when you need a basket, there's got to be a go-to guy. There's got to be someone. He may not be the best scorer on the team, but he's going to be the guy who's going to gut out some points for you, that's going to try to get the offense moving again. Keita Bates-Diop, and I hate to agree with Dan Dakich, but Keita Bates-Diop is supposed to be the guy that we need to go to, and he just hasn't been there. He hasn't been there. Every time we start getting down, I watch his play, and he starts pulling back. He doesn't attack. He holds back a bit. He may drive the lane, but he drives the lane weak. He doesn't drive it strong, and it's very frustrating basketball to watch.
I wonder how much of that comes back to him getting injured last year. Because, sometimes, especially your first year that you're playing, you still have that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, as I was talking, that thought crossed my mind too. And there might be something to that. But it also could just be that he's uncomfortable being the person in charge, right? He's uncomfortable being that guy, the centerpiece, the focal point of the team. He's more comfortable being the things are going well, I find myself a spot and take a shot, right? Being the focal point's not what he wants to do. He doesn't want to try to pull this team out of its slump. He just wants to go along for the ride. That said, maybe Jashawn Tate is a better option for that. I don't know that Jashawn Tate is a good enough scorer to be that role, but he seems a little bit more willing to attack. And ultimately, I think that's why we lost to Butler, was because Jashawn Tate got fouled out with about 5 minutes left in the game, right when we needed him most. And Butler goes on their run, and we don't have Jashawn in the overtime, and they take care of business.
I think you're onto something with that, because if you look at the what game was that? Why am I'm of course naturally I'm having a brain fart on it. What was it? The Texas Southern game, when Texas Southern made their run, and all of a sudden Tate made that defensive play, and I think he rebounded a ball or something, and he went down and got a layup and a foul, and maybe it was like a defensive play that he had like charging or something. I don't remember, but it was like his play right then just energized the team, and they were able to come back and not squander that lead. And we thought then that was a good sign, but obviously it's not having anybody else to be able to do it when, if he's out, like you're pointing out, that's a problem.
Yeah, the team hasn't yet figured out completely the concept of defense leading to offense. One of the things that Aaron Kraft always used to do is create a great defensive play, force a fast break, get some points, and that would build some momentum with the team and get them to start playing better basketball on both ends of the court, right? We don't have a player that does that often. CJ Jackson will occasionally get a steal, and sometimes it leads to a fast break, and you can see that defense lead to offense momentum that you get out of it. But then other times he gets a steal and he slows the offense down. And it drives me up a wall. I'm pretty certain I've seen Holtman get a little crazy about it too. We've seen Jashawn Tate. I think the play you were thinking of was one where Jashawn Tate made a steal and drove on a fast break. I don't remember if he scored it by himself or if he passed it to someone else. But yeah, it's this. There are certain key things you look for on a team, right? Someone who's willing to make a play to get the team moving again. And it's not there on offense and it's not there on defense often enough for this team to really be able to pick themselves off the mat when someone lays a haymaker on them, right?
No, you're absolutely right. And I mean, one of the issues that we have is the youth of the team. But at the same time, that's just, we don't want to make an excuse because you've got to learn from this. You've got Big Ten play opening up this Saturday. And if you want to be competing and if you want to have a successful season, you have to learn how to fight through this and you have to figure out how to pull out the wins. I mean, you mentioned CJ Jackson. One of the other negatives on him is the turnovers that this kid has. I mean, if he could be leading a fast break, he'll turn the ball over. You don't know what you're going to get from him, and it's aggravating watching him the way he turns the ball over.
Oh, it absolutely is, right? There are so many times where he makes just an absolutely brilliant play. Like last night, he'd had a ball fake down in the paint. He's driving down in the paint, ball fakes to the left, and then passes to the right to probably Caleb Wesson right under the basket for an easy layup, right? It was a beautiful pass play. I was certain he had turned it over. But he shows these flashes of brilliance. And then he has these brain fart moments where he passes it out of bounds because he expects a teammate to be somewhere where they're not. Or dribbles it off his foot. Or, geez. He is a singularly frustrating player to watch. I think sometimes he starts thinking about 5 steps too far ahead rather than focusing on the here and now. Maybe. Hopefully that's the answer. But
yeah, him and Jashawn Tate, they both, let's see, Jashawn Tate has 23 turnovers and CJ Jackson has 28. I mean, that's horrible.
On a season with 8 games played, 9 games?
Yeah.
8 games.
So I just...
so you're averaging 3.5 turnovers a game for CJ Jackson. Okay, I've heard of worse stat lines, but that's still pretty bad. And to be fair, the vast majority of those turnovers seem to have come in the last 4 games.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I mean, there's one of the biggest questions right now that's going on is where's Micah Potter?
So Micah Potter hurt himself against Northeastern, I think it was, twisted his ankle, and then we didn't see him against Gonzaga, which was it was 5 days later, so he had some time to rest up and get better, but it just wasn't there. He showed up in the Stanford game, but only for very brief stretches. And I remember he went to the bench and was very frustrated. The only thing I can think of is that he was frustrated with his ankle, that it wasn't responding the way he wanted to. Because then against Butler and again against Clemson, we didn't see him at all. And, I mean, this has been a blessing in disguise in the context that we're starting to see Caleb Wesson really emerge a lot because he's getting the extra minutes and he's making something of it. But there are definitely times when it would be nice to see Micah Potter down there too, giving Caleb Wesson a little bit of relief and giving Caleb Wesson the opportunity to sit on the bench and talk to the coaches while we still have a big on the court, rather than playing Keita Bates-Diop at the 5.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It just, I don't know. I mean, you have the youth on this team, and if you look at the stats, more or less, they're not putting up gaudy, nasty stats or, terrible. Bates-Diop is averaging almost 17 and a half points a game. CJ Jackson's at 13, and Jashawn Tate's at just about 13. Wesson is at 11. So, I mean, they're not terrible. I mean, you have 4 players, averaging in double digits. And as far as the rebounds and stuff, see, Bates-Diop's at almost 10 a game, and Jashawn Tate's at just under 7. So, I mean, their defense or their rebounding needs to get a little bit better. There's a lot still to be worked on, obviously. I mean, we go back to the leadership thing, and I mean, looking forward from not this year, but like for next year, I just wonder if Chris Holtmann would be getting with Urban Meyer and getting these players into the leadership classes and stuff like that Urban Meyer has on Wednesdays, that real life leadership stuff.
I mean, if I were Chris Holtmann, I would be doing that. I would absolutely be doing everything I can to try to encourage the basketball team to learn how to be leaders of any sort. For example, talking to some of the leaders on the football team, finding out what they do, how they do it, why they do it, right? But to some extent, also, you can't always teach leadership. Sometimes a player has to just have leadership as a innate quality, right? You can develop leadership skills over time, but sometimes the best leaders are the ones who are just natural leaders, right? And on a basketball court, sometimes you need one of those natural leaders to be the guy that steps up for you. I wonder greatly if we just haven't yet recruited a great leader, or if maybe Musa Jallow, good old Moose, is that potential leader and he's just not old enough yet, or Kyle Young is that guy. Maybe they're there and they just haven't matured enough yet to take on that role. But, it's again, we talked in the last podcast about this. It's a development of culture. It was going to be hard. We knew that going into the season. Okay, we didn't necessarily expect that we would blow a lead against Butler and lose in overtime. We didn't expect we would blow a good lead against Clemson. Those have been tough losses, right? Very tough losses. But it's part of the development. They will get better. We've seen the bright flashes, right? They can get a 10-point lead, a 13-point lead on Clemson, right? It's there. They just something's gotta click, either with the team as a whole or with one person. Maybe that happens this year. Maybe it doesn't, right? We'll just have to wait and see. I hate to say it, but that's where we're at. There's plenty of talent. It's gotta click. Something's gotta click.
Well, I mean, and to be fair, we're being really critical when we're looking at a team that new head coach inserted in June, and he has to get his program up and running in just a few months. And he turned around and was able to get 3 players in order to come to Ohio State, whereas I forget how many people left or, decommitted. And so, I mean, we're being harsh over the things that we're seeing, but we know that we see that there's talent there and they have the ability to actually win games to be better than a lot of people think they're going to be.
Yeah, there's no question. You're absolutely right. Right. Yes, we're being hypercritical, but to be fair, it's clear that Chris Holtmann is very frustrated with the team as well. So, I don't think we're being unfair by being a little on the critical side, but you're right. There's plenty of talent here. There are a lot of positive things. I wish we didn't have to play Wisconsin next, of all teams yeah, okay, Wisconsin didn't look so good in the ACC Challenge, but
Wisconsin's not looking good at all this year right now.
Really?
They're 3-4.
Holy crap.
Yeah,
that's amazing to me.
Wisconsin's on a down year. They started off the season with a win against South Carolina State, a win against Yale. They lost by 10 points to Xavier. They lost by 5 points to Baylor. They lost by 2 points to UCLA. They beat Milwaukee, and then they just lost last night to Virginia by 4 points. So, I mean, there are games that they're playing. Xavier and Baylor ranked. So, I mean, they played them kind of tough, but record-wise right now, Wisconsin's on a down year.
So what's interesting, you said it was 4 points. Wasn't the score something like, I think Wisconsin only scored 37. Is that right? Or was
I'm sorry. It wasn't 4 points. Yeah, it wasn't 4 points. It was 8 points. So my math is right. 49-37. That's 12 points.
Oh, I'm looking at Stanford. That's why I can't figure out what's going on.
Math is hard. So 49. It was Virginia 49, and they're ranked, and Wisconsin points, 37.
Yes. Yeah, I remember seeing the score and thinking that yet again Wisconsin had set basketball back about 4 decades. And they won against Milwaukee. Okay. I can read, I promise. It's sometimes surprising, but
I can't math, so.
So somehow we'll make 2 acceptable podcasters. Yeah, okay, so maybe playing Wisconsin isn't the worst thing in the world, but, I mean, playing at Wisconsin has always been tough. And I make no secret that I loathe Wisconsin with a passion, so I would prefer to play them when we look a little bit stronger. But, maybe this is exactly what the team needs, right? A tough loss against Butler, and then they come out against Clemson, and, it almost seems like the last couple of games, the opposing team starts to get on their run. The Buckeyes have a lead. The opposing team starts to come back, and the score gets close, and you almost see the Buckeyes think, here we go again, right? Here it comes. We couldn't stop it last time. We're not going to stop it this time, and we couldn't come back last time, so we're not going to come back this time. Hopefully, they can play a game where they can either not go through a 5, 6, 10, 11-minute scoring drought. That would be nice. But also, maybe, even if they do go through a little bit of a scoring drought, because you're going to have some streakiness in a game, it happens, maybe they can gut something out, pull themselves together, get the win, and start feeling good about themselves again.
Well, yeah, they definitely need to get the win so that way they can set our mood right for the Big Ten championship right after it's done. I mean, it's just crazy how all of a sudden you have Wisconsin for basketball at 5 o'clock, and at 8 o'clock you have, Wisconsin for football. But, I mean, one's opening a season and one's closing a season, so it's just kind of funny how sometimes it all works itself out. And they definitely need to get it on track because Monday, I think it is. Yeah, Monday on the 4th.
Monday they play Michigan.
They play Michigan, and look, the hockey team swept Michigan over the weekend. The football team beat Michigan. There's a standard that's set here. You got to beat Michigan. So,
yeah, well, so Michigan was looking okay against North Carolina until probably about midway in the second half, and suddenly Michigan basketball started looking like Ohio State basketball, and they got their butts kicked pretty thoroughly. They managed to make a little bit more of a game of it. Final score was 86-71, but there was a period of time where they looked completely lost and hopeless, which should worry Buckeye fans going forward because, of course, 2 days before Christmas, we get to play none other than North Carolina.
Yeah.
I believe that's a neutral site game. Yes, it is a neutral site game.
New Orleans.
Or
New Orleans.
So that'll be exciting. But, we got a few games between here and there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games to try to get things going again, get the good juices flowing, and maybe we can make a good game of it.
Yeah, the key is, like you were saying and we discussed, is a leader has to emerge from this team. Yep. They need to figure out how to stop their woes and the endings of the games, as far as throwing your head down, like here we go again, and just do whatever you got to do in order to score. Don't just throw up a shot praying it's going to go in. I mean, fight like heck in order to just create a foul, get to the free throw line, do something in order to be able to get some points. And speaking of the free throw line, for the love of God, will this team ever learn how to shoot free throws?
You know, the funny thing is, for a while, they looked really good at shooting free throws. And in fact, Caleb Wesson has a beautiful shooting stroke from the line. He absolutely needs to be given the ball in the paint and told to go power it up to get fouls, because he needs to be shooting as many free throws as he can. But yeah, last night we missed 4 free throws at very critical moments that could have really helped turn the game around, and that was that. You got to make your free throws at the end of the day. That's one of those fundamental things that you just have to do. There's no reason why we should be missing them.
I mean, Bates Diop, he's shooting, 74% from a free throw line, which isn't too bad. CJ Jackson's shooting 86%. Jashawn Tate is shooting 34% or 54%. That's terrible.
Yeah, he's a coin flip.
Right. Wesson, he's, freshman, so I mean he's shooting 69%. Nice touch.
Yeah.
Potter, he's shooting 82%, so he's just not doing too bad. Cam Williams is shooting 86%, so 6%. Not too bad. But I mean, and everybody else is at 50%.
No, Dockich is at 90.
Yep, I'm sorry. That looked like a 5 from here.
Yep. It took me a moment to clue in on that. Yeah, he's shot 10 free throws and he's hit 9 of them. Exactly. But okay, so
it seems like
Caleb Wesson
they're shooting better in the
free throws this year.
Yeah. It should be more.
Everybody else is sub 30.
Mm-hmm.
That's we need to be doing better about just getting to the line,
getting to the hole, hitting them, being aggressive. Yeah, being aggressive, getting towards the hoop, and you want the other team to get into foul trouble in order to be able to help yourself out. Yep. Get them into bonus and everything. That's right. It was nice to see at the Clemson game a ton of students. I think there was, I'm not sure the exact number, but I know before the game, I was told that there was going to be 3,200 students there, and I was supposed to go down there. Unfortunately, I didn't make it down, but I think with the final tally ended up being like a little over 17,000 at the shot, which was nice to see. It's really nice to see it, with this team, and it would have been a heck of a lot nicer to see him bring home a win instead of seeing everybody so negative on Twitter and Facebook and everything, being so down on his team, because this team does have a lot more potential than people actually think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's unfortunate that we're also being I'll call it constructive criticism.
Mm-hmm.
We're not being negative. We're being constructive here. But yeah, you're right. We gave away 5,000 free tickets to the students. Supposedly we gave all of those away. It would have been nice to give them something exciting to go home and talk about, and give them a reason to come back. We just didn't do it. It's even more unfortunate the way that game ended, that we just sort of faded away like we weren't even playing basketball anymore. That's not what you want your student section to see, right? You're trying to build some fan loyalty, and that did not do it. So to some extent, there's a little bit of onus on the fans to come out and support the team. I said it in the last podcast. I'll say it again, right? The team isn't necessarily going to win games to get you to come to the stadium. you got to go to the stadium and cheer them on to help them win games. I think that's going to have to be the way it's going to be this year.
And get that energy going in order to be able to get that team fired up. You know, you got to help them out too. Be that, the sixth man or, whatever you want to call it.
Right. That's one of those things that's always been hard for Buckeye fans to do, right? Get energy and get cheering when there's nothing to cheer about. But we got to do it. We got to start getting up and helping this team, let them know that they're our team, that they're doing as well as they can, and that we support them. And hopefully that helps.
Yeah, I mean, well, like we said, they play Saturday, but it's at Madison, and both those games are on Fox. Another, how weird is that? But, I mean, Monday, you got to get out there and you got to get your voices loud because, we don't give a damn about the whole state of Michigan, plain and simple. So, I mean,
right.
you got to help get that ball going. Help, get that rock going as far as starting to rack up wins and stuff like that. I mean, it'd be nice to see them.
It's the damn rival. Let's go beat them.
Exactly.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm hoping to see more from this team, and I know we are going to. And I have confidence in Chris Holtman. I think the way he's handling the team, and you could tell, like you said, with his frustration and everything, but you don't see him getting all crazy and irate and yelling at him and stuff like that. So we're going to start seeing a turning point here pretty soon. Just we need somebody to step up and be that man to say, hey, you know what? I want the ball in the final minutes because we're going to win this game. And at least give it a shot. And if you fail, we still got you.
Yeah, that desire to have the ball in the final minutes to win a game is missing. That we need that.
Yeah, but we don't have that at all.
You're absolutely right. We shouldn't have to say that we have confidence in Holtman. Holtman's getting the job done. There's no question about it, right? You can see the culture changing in this program. You can see the players are putting in more effort in playing. They're hustling to the basketball. They're trying to make plays. It's just that their self-confidence is not there yet. It's too easy for them to get down on themselves, to think, oh man, it's just last year all over again, or oh, there's nothing's going right, and nothing we do is enough to be able to get things going again. That it's going to happen, right? At some point, they're going to get that self-confidence, and this team's going to look really good doing it. It's just a matter of time.
Jump on the bandwagon now.
There won't be space for you if you don't.
I'll be checking for IDs at the once everything starts changing, because we won't be letting you on then. But get on board now. Root for this team. You're going to have growing pains. It's a young team. That's what it's all about. We're changing the culture. We're changing what's been happening in the last few years, the unfortunate situations that have happened for Ohio State. And it's a new day. Get this energy going. Get that student section, loud. Get that student section growing and make some noise and show the Big Ten that Buckeye basketball's back.
That's right. Certainly is.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Silver Bullets podcast on the Ozone Radio Network. Eric, where can the listeners find you at?
You can find me on Twitter. My handle is Eric tBBC, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I
think I know my own.
Yeah, I couldn't remember because I don't have it written down, so I couldn't remember if it was at the BBC or tBBC.
Yeah, I think it's tBBC. I'm looking.
It's at it's at Eric tBBC.
Yeah, that's it. For 8 characters, Eric tBBC. You can find me there. I tweet about the basketball team. I try to do commentary during the course of the games on what I'm seeing. So follow me, check me out. Hopefully you like what I provide. He's
not very good at sticking with his co-host's narrative, though. trying to change it though when he's tweeting, so you got to watch out for that.
Hey man, you can't ascribe everything to youth. It's not like this team is totally freshman.
Very true, very true. You can find me on Twitter at Shannon CFB. You could we would like you to subscribe to our show. You can subscribe to our show. We are now on iHeartRadio. We're on TuneIn, Spreaker. We have a YouTube channel. Get us on Google Play, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and of course you can listen to us on the ozone.net on our podcasts page. Just click on one of the tabs and it'll come down for podcasts and click on over there. We just want to say, go Bucks, beat Buckeye 2 times on Saturday. And, for Eric at the BBC, I'm Shannon Sommers. Thanks for listening and go Bucks.